Alrighty, alrighty. I know it doesn't look pretty, but it's all right. What is going on, internet? It is Saturday, so you know what that means. It is your Saturday morning anime super hour. I hope you're all having a wonderful one, guys. I appreciate y'all all so much for stopping by and hanging out with us because we know how things be going right now. but it's okay. It's all right because we gonna make sure that you have a fun time tonight. As always, guys, you know what it is. It is your boy, the boisterous host with the most, the man who never knows how to shut up. It's me, Bloody Nuts, the Anime King. And of course, with me, I got everyone's favorite everyone's favorite mecha man himself, Mr. Domo Origato. It's the Mr. Roboto of the squad, our Japanese enthusiast himself, the Kanji King. I have Creative
What's
Kofi.
good? What's good? What's good? What's good? It is finally great to be here as part of the Smash podcast. This is a long time coming because I was looking at my own Twitter profile back from 2020, and I still mention the Smash podcast. So it's obviously we've had our ups and downs, but it's nice to have a kickoff point here in 2023 and embracing the winter season, or technically the fall season. So yeah, man, it's great to be here. Shout out to Jube, Soul King, and our other guest, who I'm forgetting. Who's our fifth?
We were going to have my sweetheart Akuma was supposed to be showing up today, but unfortunately she is sick. It is unfortunate
Uh,
because she wanted to be here for obviously our Spooktober special here because as a horror fan that she wanted to be able to come and tell everyone about the goodies of the horror scene and everything else and some of her go-tos and favorites. So she will be on later on another episode to make up for all that good stuff.
Sounds good. So yeah, I will be excited to get into some of these topics. It looks like I've got my children are having a moment right now. Apologies, but
Aren't they
we will
always? Isn't
continue
that just
on.
kids?
That is true.
As I say though, I mean it happens to the best of us and to the worst of us and everything in between. I'll say so, you know. But I was gonna say, you know how it is being a super dad. I was like, when the kids start acting up, you gotta step in because if you don't, someone else will, and you're gonna get your ass kicked later.
Yes,
But
sir.
it's always interesting to see the little mechas running around there. I'll say all your little
Right.
the little mini mechas right there because you got the big Gundam which is you and then you got the little ones out there. It's just like
Yeah,
can
man.
y'all
It's
please
like
calm down?
it's a lot. It is a lot. Goodness gracious.
How many you got now? For those who don't
Oh,
have
just two.
got two.
Just two. Yeah. One is 5. One is 3, and they're great. I mean, we're just doing a ton of sports with them.
Hey, I was like, there's that's great. I was like, sports is always a good time and definitely one way to spend with kids and getting them out, getting them active and everything else. You know, I was like, that's definitely what I see here because that's what we've done for all my nieces and nephews. A lot of them, we got them into some sort of sport or everything else and let them go run off all that energy. It's like, all right, y'all need to get out the
Yeah.
house. Here you go. Let's go do something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like right now, we've got how many sports? Each of them do 5. There's
Jesus.
only a little. Yeah, it's crazy. Swimming, basketball, hockey, track, soccer, and then we were just doing bike riding too. So it's like, oh my gosh.
Are you sure you're just getting them to
So
work off their energy and not trying to raise your own little Olympic champions over there?
right. Triathlon. Oh my
For real, I
goodness.
was like, we're teaching them biking and running and swimming. So it's like, are you sure you're teaching them for just burning energy, or are you trying to make triathletes over there? I was like, because that sounds like what you doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is a lot, right?
It is,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Ugh,
But hey, I was like, sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes you have kids that are super sporty, want to do all the sports. So why not, right?
exactly. They are the ones telling me to take them. So
Okay, well there
that
you
is
go. They're just
encouraging.
like, Dad, I'm gonna be an Olympic triathlete. Take me out. Let's go.
Absolutely, man.
I was like, and then when they finally win at the nationals and everything else, you're gonna see this little kid with a Gundam helmet on. He's gonna be like, "That's my boy right there." And they're
There you
just gonna
go.
It's just like in some of the anime scenes, you just see a random dude in a suit, and then he just has a Gundam helmet on. That's gonna be Kofi at the award ceremony. He's just like, "That's my boy, right there," and the R-44 helmet, not the one over there in
Right,
the
right.
Zach.
He made it. Stardust memory. That's
Exactly.
funny.
He's just like, not like
Oh
those
man.
other children over there and those damn Zach helmets.
Right, right, right.
Jesus. But yeah, man, hey, that's good that your kids are keeping you busy like that. And I tell you what, I was like, the anime season is starting to get really good. I think for anime it's definitely been stepping up in the past two years. I was like, you think after all the slowdown back in 2020, so many projects being delayed, even from
Yeah.
2021, I was like, there's things coming out now have been so insane, and the way that they have been coming out with a lot of rapid fire projects and a lot of smaller projects for series that were completely unknown that have been blowing up, and even just other ones that are just so weird and out there that have been getting more adaptations. But it's spooky season. I was like, so right now let's talk about some of our favorite horror anime that are out there. And I want to know, what's one of your favorite classics to go to, Kofi? I was like, what is one horror
Ooh.
anime that you always like to watch during this season?
Can I can I start with one that is newer, but is a favorite of mine in the horror space? It is
Absolutely.
called Kabaneri no Kotetsujo, which is Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress.
Ah, yes.
And to me, this 12 episode anime stands very tall, not only for its well paced storytelling, but
Mm-hmm.
its characters and the way it portrays the, like the impending pressure that is happening to the main characters. The action sequences, the swag that the main female and the main male have, I was just so impressed with it. Thinking it was going to be almost a throwaway anime that I'd watch casually.
You know what? When I
Even though
watched that back in 2013, I can agree with that. Or was it 2016? 2016 is when it came out.
I think it's 2016, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like every time I think back, I go, man, that was such a good anime. I know that there was actually like a movie sequel. I don't think I've even seen it. So I'm really been kind of catching up on everything anime. I hope that these coming months will be better. But yeah, that would be a dark horse, I think, in my top list. And I'm trying to think what else I would put up there.
And you know what? I have to agree with you. I was like, Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress is so damn good. I was like, and it came from, what is it, Wit Studio? And basically, as everyone joked about it back at the time, it was basically Attack on Titan with trains and zombies.
It was. It's literally Attack on Titan with really, really good pacing.
Yes, I
And,
was.
and of course, this is before season 4 came out of Attack on Titan. At
This was
which point I
before
was like,
season two
"Oh,
came out.
that's true." Yeah, but I just remember being so irritated with how AOT was drawn out. And
Yeah,
then Cabaneri comes out and it's like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, "Yo, this is what I want.
yeah,
This is the
because
pacing
we
that
only
I'm looking
got
for."
we only got one season that was like 24 episodes, and that was in 2013 when Attack on Titan first came out, I believe. And then nothing for years until like, what was it, like 2018 or so, when they finally did season 2, and then they did
Yeah,
season 3 right after it, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna do season 4, which is gonna be the final season. That's been drawn out for the past 4 years. I'm just like, no. I was like,
exactly. They're like, "This is still season 4." And you're like,
yeah.
"What?
But
Come
yeah, I
on."
was like, when the Commodore the Iron Fortress, everyone joked, it's just like, they're like, it's Attack on Titan with trains and zombies. I'm just like, hey, it's still better paced than it is. I was like, and the animation studios, or the animation of that series, is just so clean. Like, don't get me wrong. I was
Yes.
like, Mappa has
Yes.
done an amazing job with Attack on Titan. I was like, when they do the action sequences and everything, Mappa is absolutely top tier. But I think Wit Studio really showed why they are still one of the best animation studios out there when they did this. And when they did the movie for Battle of Unato, which is like, I believe, takes place right after the finale of the season, I was like, that was still so damn well done. Like, Common Area the Iron Fortress is so underrepresented and not given enough love
Yes.
for what it did.
Yes.
And I
Agreed.
believe that it has a manga series that ran for a few uh volumes. I don't know if it was very long series, but the fact is that they kept the series relatively well written, short, sweet, and complete. I was like, I love that. I was like, sometimes you get series that are so drawn out for so long, and it's just like you get that
Yes.
fatigue.
Yeah, it's like where's the plot even going at this point? And you forget. And that's why I love Cabaneri is it's just a great 12 episode. Of course, like I said, there's the movie. I think I've seen part of it, but I definitely haven't finished it. So I should go back and enjoy that one.
Definitely, it was probably one of the coolest. I was like, also the characters. I love the design from the steampunk aesthetic.
Yes.
I was like, was just
Yes.
absolutely like top tier, like one of my favorite steampunk designs. Because like you said, the main character of Ikoma and Mume, I was like, the way that they're both designed is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it has me feel so nostalgic. That I don't typically rewatch entire animes, but that is one I would revisit without much thought. It's just so good. Like you said, the action, her moving with her guns, having like you said with the steampunk aesthetic. I just thought that was it was so thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. It really was, and
So
they kept the logic well within the universe of understanding the steampunk kind of feel of it. Especially think of Ikoma, because he didn't have all the guns and fancy footwork that Mume had, but he had that really badass engineered piercing gun that he utilized. But he also knew that
right.
it had to be attached to the battery that he had on his back and everything else. So it all made sense within actual logic and then within the logic of the world and stuff like that. So it's just like it was so well done.
Gotta love it, man.
Also, gotta say, completely just like out there, one of my favorite characters in that whole show. I always called him Gaijin Kun because it was the blonde dude who spoke with a real like Gaijin pronunciation of Japanese words. He was the train engineer.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that dude. Yeah, yeah.
I
He's
was
like his
like,
best friend, right?
yeah, I was like, I believe he was a trade engineer or whatever. He was the one who was running the trade, and every time he spoke, I was like, dude, this is a guy who does not speak Japanese, speaking Japanese, and I love him. So I was like, that's Gaijin Kun right there. I was like, go for it, my guy. So every time he started talking, I'm just like, yeah, there's the favorite dude. But man, I tell you what, I was like, yeah, I could agree that Cabaneri is a bit more newer-ish or new-ish, but I mean, it's still within the past decade, but still completely one of those series that is well uh just completely out there. And if you haven't seen it, definitely go and check it out. I was like, it's well worth it for anyone who has not had the time to check out probably that classic of a series. So definitely go and check out Cabaneri the Iron Fortress. I believe they have a 3-part series on they had the movie on a 3-part, which you can find on Netflix. So if you want to go watch that, it's called Battle of Unato, which takes place after the series or the anime. So I believe they have the first season on there as well. So make sure you go and check it out. And look who strolls on in all calm like nothing ever happened. This man's this long-haired, dreadlocked, clean-looking son of a gun, our resident lyricist himself, the rap-tastic annihilator, the one and only Anbu Smokage himself, Jubei Sensei. And he doesn't even have his mic on. This dude, I
Can you guys hear
swear.
me?
There he
Good?
goes.
Yeah, yeah. How's everybody doing?
What's going on, Jubei?
What's going on? Ain't a show without technical difficulties, you feel me? But
Uh-huh,
we here.
uh-huh. And I'm over here like, where is this man's at? I'm calling him. He ain't answering nothing. I'm just
Nah, we
like,
good. We good.
he's like, shh, shh, shh. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. But what's going on with you, Jubei, my boy?
Nothing. I'm still buried in boxes and stuff. I'm so lucky to have my PC out right now. But
Aha. I was like, that's
Yeah.
the way you do it. I was like, sometimes it be like that though, right? Sometimes it do be like that though. I was like,
Absolutely.
the boxes and living out of the boxes is the worst part. Is that sometimes you have to live out of the boxes uh, for so long, right? I was like, I think that's the worst part
Absolutely.
about it. But I mean, to be fair, I still do that to this day. And I was like, I moved into my new place back in like December, and I was like, I unpacked most of my stuff, and I'm like, there's still stuff. I'm just like, I don't have additional shelves or nothing for this. I was like, I'm just gonna be taking whatever I need out of these boxes. All right. I was like, I'm gonna live out of the boxes and only take out what I need because I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna stay here, if we're gonna stay here after next year or whatever. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just calling it early prep for next time. That's all it is. Just early prep. That's it. That's it, my boy. Just early prep.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
Mm-hmm. I was like, trust me. I was like, I get it. I get it. We all like that every now and then. I was like, it happens. We've all been on that situation where you gotta live out of the box. You gotta move everything in the box, and it's just like, you know what? Do I really want to do this? Do I really got to do this? Yeah, I really got to do this. And it's just like, nah. So trust me, I get it, my boy. I was like, so hopefully y'all having an easy bit of a move in, right? I was like, hopefully it's not too bad for y'all.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but moving just sucks in general.
Oh,
So
without a doubt, moving in general is just a pain in the half because no one likes to move. No one wants to move. We all gotta move. I was like, but it's just the packing and unpacking that's the worst of it all.
yep.
So,
How are you, Kofi? You're awfully quiet.
oh, he's dealing with super children over there. I was like, the little mini
Oh,
mechs are running around. So I was like, Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 is doing their things.
I got you. Nah, my 6 week old is, I think he's napping right now. So
He's just like, oh,
but
finally, I got that sweet time, that quiet time. I was like, that's how they be, man. I was like, kids be something. They be wild. They be fun though. Uh, they are definitely something else. I was like, I know that's how my nieces and my nephews get, man. I was like, and it's just like, can you please just like chill out for like 5 minutes? It's like, come on. I was like, we need to do something. He's over there. I was like, but Kofi's a whole other league. He's training some triathlons over there, triathletes, taking them running, swimming, biking, doing basketball, hockey, and just like, Jesus, man.
right.
I was like, he's raising some Olympians. But jumping back to where we were talking about here, it's spooky season, right? It's a wonderful time of the year if you are into that kind of stuff. If you like the dark and nitty gritty instead of the bright white lights of the fall time, right? So,
Yeah.
what is a horror anime that you always love to go back to? It can be new, it could be classic. What is one series that
Ooh.
you love that you love to check out and revisit or just enjoy during this time of the year?
I don't watch too many horror anime. Like I used to read horror manga like a lot. Um, so that's a tough one, man. Um,
Okay, well you have a horror manga.
hmm.
What's one of your classic horror mangas that you go to?
Oh, Biomeat,
Ooh,
Biomeat forever.
ooh. Now that's one that even your boy hasn't heard of. Please,
Never heard of Biomeat?
yeah,
What?
I was gonna say that is one that has even escaped me. Please enlighten the class.
Yeah. So, basic premise is like humanity. We fucked like we don't have like food anymore. So we got genetically modified food that eats garbage. No, what can possibly go wrong, right? The problem
Mm,
is it doesn't just eat garbage; it eats everything.
that sounds about right. Jesus. Oh, that sounds disgusting.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh yeah, we can get rid of all the trash on the planet," and then like they every time it eats, it multiplies. So you
Yeah.
have basically unlimited food source as long as you have something to feed it. And then you know,
When you run
someone
out of trash,
accidentally takes a
yeah.
somebody accidentally takes a trip into the pit. Now they want human flesh.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now they got that taste. They're just like, damn, this meat is good. Give me more. I was like, I don't want your
Yeah,
scraps anymore. Give me the good stuff.
Definitely a read. Extremely gory. Like definitely not safe for work or for kids.
Unless you want to be traumatized,
Yeah,
that's all.
it's great.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. That is definitely one I'll have to check out. Now, for me, I was like, everyone when it comes around October and everyone wants to talk about horror anime, everyone always goes to like the most notable ones, like Another. I think Another has been talked about to death. I was like, yes, we get it. It's a classic. I was like, it's a bit kind of like tropey when it comes to the horror stuff. I was like, but yes, everyone goes to Another. Junji Ito collection. Nothing against Junji Ito. I was like, Junji Ito is an absolute master of horror, but I think a lot, especially when you look at the Junji Ito collection, it's more of not all of it is always horror. It's more like it's kind of like psychological, but some of it is just creep factors on a lot of what he does. And I was like, but still, it's great. But if you really want a classic horror series to go to, I always recommend going and watching Terraformers. Terraformers does not get as much attention nowadays that it deserves. I was like, because who wouldn't be afraid of giant man destroying space cockroaches? I was like, seriously, if you've not seen Terraformers, it has to be one of the goriest, one of the most unsettling space horror animes out there. Because if you've seen the space cockroach dudes, I was like, you would be terrified because they could rip a man in half in no time, but also they're just unsettling with their humanoid physique. And the fact that they're just like absolutely powerhouses is just crazy. Have you ever seen Terraformers, Jube? Is one of those classics that's just completely.
I've heard the name. I've never personally watched it.
Oh, you need to. I was like, it's so.
That sounds terrifying. Because even regular sized cockroaches are
he's
you
like,
know
he's like, listen, I already don't like regular cockroaches. He's like,
I
what?
don't fuck with them like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's one of those things, man. I was like, he's just like, I don't. He's like, I don't like them already when they're small and insignificant. He's like, why am I gonna deal with giant space cockroaches? I was like, but dude, I was like, Terraformers is absolutely just, it's one of those crazy ones, dude. And some of the faces that they make is just horrifying when they're about to just like absolutely destroy these humans and stuff like that. It's it's amazing and just gory in the best ways possible. So I definitely recommend Terraformers as an absolute must watch. But if you really want to go old school though, let's talk about this real quick, right? It's like everyone mentions and goes to uh, right now the popularity of idols and everything that's come with it, right? Um, Idols are absolutely a top tier thing right now, and I think a lot of that isn't due to the success of uh, uh, Koshi. Uh, why can't I think of the name? It's Koshi no. Damn it, I can't. It's completely slipped my mind. But everyone, Hoshinoko, I think that's what it is. Is Hoshinoko is absolutely really popular right now, and one because of the fact that it addresses a lot of the darker side of like the entertainment industry, and especially uh, for idols, especially in like Japan and what can be estimated in like South Korea and other places, is that this is just unfortunately some of the darker sides on what these performers have to go through. But there was a series that did this way long ago. I was like, and I'm not like hating on Hoshinoko. I was like, it absolutely is wonderful. It does not shy away from actually calling specific stuff out. Whereas if you look at other series, they reference it or they satire it, and you can kind of piece it together because they're like, I'm not going to use the actual name, but you know who I'm talking about. No, Hoshinoko absolutely calls out the specifics on a lot of particular companies and industries and stuff like that. Um, but they talk about the abuse, both emotionally, physically, sometimes other ones that we're not going to mention here that happens to idols. Besides, also the fact that some of them end up being, killed by obsession of fans and others here. Uh, But there was a series that did that first, and that is Perfect Blue. And Perfect Blue takes what Hoshino did and does it like times 10 because they do not hold back in just the sheer darkness of the entertainment industry. And I think that it's one of those ones that people recognize because a lot of scenes have been taken out of context or used for memes, but not knowing the like severity or like the dark side of what those scenes are entailing. And it really was one of those ones that helped to kind of wake up a lot of people's ideas about what actually happens in that industry. So I tell people a lot, if you like Hoshi no, go and watch Perfect Blue because
Is,
it
is
will.
that is that is that the one where like there's somebody like doing like a like a website and she's like it's like from her perspective. I think I've seen this. Like it's been a long time.
I believe
Like
I believe I
like
know what you're
somebody's
talking
doing
about.
some weird like diary entries as if it was written by her.
Kind
She's like
of.
she was in like a J-pop group and she wants to be like an actress and shit. Like
Yeah, and it
um
talks a lot about yeah, exactly. She wants
yeah
to yeah,
yeah
that's it. Yep. Because she's being stalked by a fan and stuff like that.
exactly
Yeah.
yeah. It was like how does somebody know all this about her type shit. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
You're on the right track. Yeah, that's Perfect Blue. I was gonna say, and like I said,
Yeah, I seen that a long time ago. That's that's a decade plus.
well, I mean, you think that it was a film that came out back in '97, so.
Yep, yep.
But yeah, I was like, for those who love Hoshinoko, Perfect Blue did this decades ago. I'll say, and it's nothing against Hoshinoko because Hoshinoko is both beautiful and like heartbreaking at the same time. And I'm glad that it's helped to bring a lot more attention to one idols in general because I think it's definitely helped a lot of. It's made like idols more popular. Also helped to bring a light to a lot of like smaller pop groups and stuff like that for idols, especially not just in Japan. I think when Hoshinoko really was blowing up when it first came out, that there was a really very talented pop group in Canada that was made of like Canadian Japanese girls and stuff like that that were able to kind of get more attention because of the success on that. So if you're just a fan of that and just like the psychological thriller of it, as well as just kind of like a lot of the dark tendencies and understanding the industry, definitely go check out Perfect Blue because it is definitely one of those um, that really just does not get a lot of attention. And like he said, you recognize scenes if you've seen when you watch the movie, you'll recognize a lot of scenes that have been taken out of context or for memes, and not really knowing the truth behind some of those scenes because it gets dark, and it's probably just one of my favorite psychological thrillers of all time because it is just so well done, and especially for the animation of the time at in the '90s was just amazing. I was like, not honestly, I think it still holds up to this day. I was like, when you think about classics, it's definitely one of those animations that definitely holds up because you think like Cowboy Bebop still has amazing animation that holds up nowadays. I was like, even Yu Yu Hakusho and Inuyasha and all them from the like the early 2000s, late 90s, a lot of those still hold up to this day. But you can look at a lot of other series even nowadays that just like even in the past decade, there's some that I'm just like, this animation looks so awful. It's like, why did we do that 5 years ago? But you look at something from 20, 30 years and you're just like, yeah, this still looks good. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Like there's just things that are just timeless. Like there's they were extremely well done for their own time, and that's a testament to how well they hold up now. I
Absolutely.
don't I don't get that jank feeling when I go back and watch Cowboy Bebop now, like just casually. Like it's like, oh yeah, this I could totally tell that this is like 20 years old type shit.
Right.
um,
Exactly. You're
and
just
that's
like,
not
man,
the
this is
case for
clean.
everything,
Exactly. You
right?
just look at it and you're like, man, this is clean. This still looks good. It's like, and that's what it should be. Is that it doesn't matter what kind of style is like. Make something that looks good, feels good, and can be timeless. It can be any aesthetic that you want, as long as you're able to make something that just feels timeless. I mean, I like Dororo, right? Even the original Dororo way back in the I think it was the 80s. I think that was the original version, and then they did the reboot of it like a couple years ago. I think in like 2018, 2019 or so. They did the reboot of Dororo, and that is still so good, right? I was like, man, I was like, if you want to talk about a really interesting era piece, talking about Edo period Japan with a samurai that's basically trying to get his body back, that was basically given to demons and stuff like that, and watching these badass samurai fights with a guy with no arms but he has swords for hands is just like crazy insane. But speaking from one horror genre or one horror medium to another, it's like we love anime, we love manga, but we also love movies and TV shows. So we all know that horror movies have been a staple of movies for years, and we have so many classics, and we have many icons of horror too. And we could probably make a whole list about some of the biggest icons when it comes to horror. But right now, what I want to know is what is your favorite horror icon, and what horror franchise do you always go back to or enjoy? It could be a TV show, it could be a movie. So, Jube, what is one horror series that you always love to go back to, whether it's movie or TV?
Um, ooh, there's so many. Jeez.
I know.
Um, just in general, like I'm more of a classic. I love me a good Dracula movie. Like Bram Stoker's still top tier.
I mean, that is fair.
um, but if we're going more like just icons in general,
I mean,
I'm not really a fan of Halloween. Like Michael
oh,
Myers is meh.
oh,
He's
oh,
okay. Um, Ghostface was meh. Leatherface was meh.
oh, oh, oh. He's Jube getting spicy out here. He said all. He's
I'm
like all
getting
your
real
whole.
spicy.
He's like all your horror icons are trash.
If I had to will it down to one or even two, it'd probably be a tie between Pinhead and Jason Voorhees.
Ooh, Hellraiser is absolutely a
Hellraiser
classic.
is wild.
It is wild. I was like, man, the Cenobites themselves are wild.
If you want to consider Alien a horror movie, we can throw the Xenomorphs in there
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
So
Alien is absolutely a horror movie. I was like, I don't care what anyone says. I was like, to me, I was like, I still go back and watch Alien and Aliens, right? I was like, still
yep,
my favorite.
they're solid.
They are absolutely solid. They're well done. I was like, it gives the perfect sense of like dread. It gives the perfect sense of anxiety. It gives the perfect sense of not knowing what's going on. I was like, Aliens is one of those ones I think that is truly a timeless classic because of the fact that there's so much that it did right that it's hard
Yeah.
to replicate that nowadays. Like you go back and hear the stories from Sigourney Weaver and the whole cast about how Scott Ridley is just like, hey, I had this idea for a scene. Don't say anything to anyone. He's like, just do what I tell you to do and just let it play out. So you think that the iconic chest burster scene alone, right? The fact that Scott Ridley literally rigged this up with the cast member, not letting anyone know what was gonna happen, and they're over here legitimately worried about him, thinking something's going on, and then they just see this, everyone screaming in pure terror from
Yep.
seeing whatever it was simply iconic to this day. I was like, the chestburster scene still gives me goosebumps because it's still just so eerily unsettling because of how realistic it looked. And you think that's all
Yep.
practical effects. They weren't doing digital editing or anything like a lot of movies rely on nowadays. Nah, nah, nah. Back in the day, we had to rig it up ourselves.
You had to get it out the mud.
Exactly. It's just like, you want a dinosaur? Guess what? We ain't CGIing that. It's like, nah. It's like you have we're gonna make our own dinosaurs. We're gonna build them out of metal and animatronics.
I do have a couple of honorable mentions though. Um,
What is
I
your
got I gotta I gotta throw Norman Bates in there.
Psycho?
Um,
Psycho, very much.
um, Did you ever watch It Follows? I know there wasn't like you couldn't see the thing, but the fact that the thing could be like anybody,
Oh
like
yes,
at any
you know
time.
I never watched the film, right? But I know the story of the film because Akumu, my sweetheart, she loves horror and she actually watches
Mhm,
another content creator. His name is CZ's World, right? Really big horror guy who does breakdowns and timelines of a lot of like horror icons or specific series and stuff like that. And I think he did a
mhm.
breakdown of It Follows and understanding how the how it all started, right? And
Yeah,
that is probably one of the most it's one of those ones that's not so much horror focused in the fact of that, oh, this is scary. It's the fact of that you don't know when and where it could show up or who it might be. And
yeah,
I think
exactly. All you see
that's
is the slow plodding walk, bro. Like you don't know anything else besides that.
yep, it's just like I'm gonna keep coming at this snail's pace, and you think that you're safe, but guess what? I'm gonna slowly creep up on you. It's just like we make jokes about snails, right? It's just like, hey, are snails just? It's like, how do we never notice snails if they're so slow? Is it because they're so slow that we don't notice them, or is it that we think they're so fast that we think that they're slow because they're just there one time, but they don't move anywhere? It's just like,
Yep.
how are they getting around like they do? And we don't see them coming. It's like snails are the ultimate assassins. It's like you blink and there's just a snail there, and it's just like, what the hell? Where'd you get here? And then you're just sitting there watching, and he's just like, I'm moving at half a centimeter an hour, baby.
Yep.
And then when
And
you
the
turn
fact that
around,
like it just jumps from, body to body, bro. Like you just don't know. Have
exactly,
no clue.
no clue at all. I would say it's one of those things that it really comes out to. It's just like you never really know where it's gonna be, and I think that's what makes it so terrifying because it's just like there's no it's different when you look at like an icon like Jason or Michael, whatever, right? You know what they look like. They're always going to be the same thing, but you know that they move fast, right? You know you have to actually work to outrun them if you can outrun them. Typically you can't, and everything
Yep.
else. But with
Jason got teleportation powers they don't even talk about. There is no
exactly,
way.
exactly. Jason can move around. I was like, he's faster than anything, but he just like he likes to play with you, right? He's just like, I'm gonna walk 2 miles an hour all over here, and I'm gonna let you go halfway across the forest, and then I'm gonna be around that tree, thinking that you safe behind. I was like, it's one of those things, right? But there's something about It Follows with the fact that it just will slowly keep moving and just chase you down, and you will never know if it was in the same body that it was 5 hours ago, or if it's another body. And I think that's what makes it so uh, terrifying, right?
Mhm.
But I think one of my favorite go-to classics besides Aliens, I have to say, is because one, I was like, I'm just a fan of this man, uh, no matter what he's in. But I have to give it to The Thing. The Thing, still to this day, is a masterpiece of a horror film, both body horror as well as the psychological horror that it does.
Mhm.
Because you have a small group of scientists stuck in a base in the middle of Antarctica, or right, or wherever it is. So you only have 8 people that you know are there, and then you suddenly have this creature that is able to turn into one of those people, because so you don't know who's who anymore. Like the 7 people that you thought you knew and could trust, you can't, because it takes their memories and everything. So you have to really like be on your toes on who you could trust to be around, and that adds into this anxiety of, it's like, I can't be around any of y'all right now. It's like I don't want to be around any of y'all because you're freaking out. And I think with the way that they captured the visual effects of being able to show the mutation of the thing, the way that it would transform, or that it would react to other people, is just like, it was something that was so unique for its time, and it still lives up to this day. And you know what? I don't care what anyone says. The 2011 or whenever they did the not really a reboot, but the Last Thing film acting as a prequel to the original, it still paid homage the right way. It didn't try to redo the entire story, and it didn't try to do. Uh, it did its own thing, but still stayed true to what the thing was about, and they did it very well. And the fact that it all sets up to where the original thing takes like begins at, I love that. And I will absolutely say that no matter what, I was like, I think the thing is going to be one of those films that truly is a testament and a timeless classic. Like 50 years from now, I think that people are still going to be talking about the thing, because you think that that movie came out almost 40 years ago and we're still talking about it. So even another 50 years from now, I think that people will still be talking about it as one of the classic films that we look at.
No, no doubt, no doubt.
And I think that's what's great, is that when a film is able to really stand out on its own like that. And that's the beauty of what horror can do, is that when it's done right and it's done well, it's able to stand a testament of time. Like we could, I was like, Jubei could over be here, Spicy be saying, hey man, your horror icons are trash, because he wants to call out everyone who likes horror. But the fact is that those characters are still a testament to what they did. I would say you could not like Michael Myers, but Halloween is still probably hailed as one of the biggest horror icons out there. You could say the same thing.
Absolutely.
I would say we all talk about Freddy Krueger. I was like, you couldn't say that the Nightmare on Elm Street films absolutely jumped the shark after the second film, which it most definitely did. It went absolutely batshit insane. But the fact is that people still know who Freddy Krueger is. Just like
Exactly. You don't get that many sequels if it's there's not something there. You know what I mean?
exactly. I was like, even if it's bad, I was like, I mean, apparently it could still, it's still doing something. Listen, I was like, a movie could be bad and still get a lot. I was like, look at Paranormal Activity, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we need four of those? No.
No,
No, we
no,
didn't.
we didn't. And I was like, one,
I was good with the first one.
exactly, one and done is all we needed. I was like, after that, it was just like, nah, that was a little bit excessive. I was like, and the fact that they couldn't even keep their own like timeline and series of events
Yeah.
like together, it's just like, nah, we're good.
Most horror nowadays is comedy to me, because I would just be like, there ain't no way. There ain't no way. Like like, you ever notice like the fact, like, in a zombie movie, nobody in that movie has seen a zombie movie, so they're freaking out and don't like. Do zombie movies not exist in your universe?
It's
Because
like
what the fuck?
exactly.
Like,
It's just like, do y'all not know what the concept of the undead or unzombie is? I was like, y'all do not have any fiction. No one's ever read a fantasy novel and be like, oh no, undead, reincarnated corpses. Y'all don't know about that? Nothing really.
yeah,
I was like,
like Zombieland did that really well, because like it's like, yeah, we know about zombies. You know what I mean? But like, other shit be like, oh, we don't know what to do. It's like,
mm-hmm. It's
how does the lore not exist here?
exactly, and Zombieland was very much a horror comedy, right? I was like, it had its
Right.
horror aspects, but they're just like, nah, we're gonna go all in on the comedy aspect, and it played out really well. It worked for it because they knew what they were trying to do. They weren't trying to say, oh, we're gonna be all horror, and it did not really play out all horror like, right? And I think that's the key about a lot of um, those types of films and things nowadays, is that you have to really do it right and be able to really get into the right feel of what you're going for. And you're not wrong. I was like, there are a lot of films that do that, and it's just like, okay, this is kind of dumb at this point. Like there really is no concept of it whatsoever. Because other than Zombieland, I think another one that does that really well was there was a Netflix series recently that came out, that the whole world was kind of like infected. It was only like the adults, and they were trying to turn into zombies, and they're like, hey, we all know how to handle zombies and stuff like that. That was really well done. But it's one of those things again. It's just like it gets played out when it's not done right, and I think that's why you look at John Romero's with Night of the Living Dead, and Dawn of the Dead are still probably the most well done zombie films to this date, right? That there's very few that can
I agree.
match what John Romero himself has done. I was like, even the World War Z film with its fast moving zombies, right, was still kind of whatever. I was like, I'm glad that they understood the concept of what a zombie is, or at least an undead was, right? But it was still one of those things that I was just like, it's alright. And I think it was kind of annoying because it didn't focus on what World War Z was. It all focused on Brad Pitt's family, which is boring. It's just like the thing that made it
It's the
work.
same problem with Godzilla movies where it's like I don't care about the people, bro. Give me them kaiju's. Like give them
Exactly.
people up out the way, bro. They're
I'll say that
collateral damage.
the new reboot series that they did with Godzilla handled the right amount of, hey, there's the humans are affected by the kaiju, but it's like, hey, we rely on the kaiju. Like I loved, like I'll say that the reboot Godzilla film was a bit kind of right. I was like, I still liked it because I'm just a kaiju fanatic. I was like, but I will say that was a little bit too much human. But when they did like King of Monsters
King of the Monsters, yeah,
and then they did
yeah,
like King Kong versus Godzilla, I was like, they had the right amount of kaiju
yep.
fights and big baddies, and then the right amount of humans interaction. Like, hey, we need Godzilla, we need to do this. It's just like this is where it is. Why can't we get the help that we need? What do we need to do to appease this god, right? And of course, shout out to Bobby Millie Brown. I was like, that girl is a fantastic actor. So her and uh, uh, King of Monsters was just phenomenal. I was like, and also
Agreed.
just the fact of that King of Monsters was just great all the way around. I mean, come on, we had King Ghidorah and we had
Yep.
Mothra and everything else. It's just like it's what we want. Damn it.
You had the whole suite. Like I was like, I'm waiting for. They just need to go all out and just do the joint where everybody's in it. Like I want to see Gamera. I want to see Rodan in real glory. I want to see all of it. But
I was like, I agree. I was like, and I think that's what they're setting up, right? I was like, after they did Godzilla and versus King Kong, I think they're trying to really build up the kaiju verse the right way this time. And they're like, all right, we're gonna just make a film where we're gonna throw every major baddie that is like Rodan's in there, Ghidorah's back, Gamera's back. I was like, Mothra's. We're gonna have another Mothra because of the fact that we know how Mothra works is that she is basically the protector of Earth and everything else, and she's able to reincarnate and stuff like that. And they're like, guess what? You knew the truth. It's just like Mecha Godzilla back.
yeah, Mecha Godzilla throwing Space Godzilla. Like I mean, just throw
Everything.
everything in there.
Hell, while we're at it, just throw Ultraman in there too. Let him come and save the day.
Yeah, like I'm here for it. Give us 2.5 hours of just kaiju brawls.
I mean, to be fair, that's what I liked. What's it? Pacific Rim.
Oh yeah, no, Pacific Rim is like a fantastic kaiju.
Oh,
movie.
absolutely.
It's chef's kiss for kaiju movies.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I know a lot of people hate on the sequel and stuff like that, but I enjoyed the sequel because of the fact that it was just all kaiju fights. And I was like, that's what I want. And I was like, the first one was great for the suspense and everything, but I was like, listen, I want to get the kaiju battles right out of the way. I was like, Pacific Rim sequel did that for me in spades. And even the like animated series that they did for Pacific Rim, I was like, I want more Pacific Rim, right? I was like, I want the right kind of kaiju giant mecha battles back. Give me that. I was like, that's why I love the Ultraman series on Netflix, is because I was like, I'm an Ultraman fan, right? I was like, I grew up watching Ultraman and Godzilla, and I was like, okay, this gave me my love of Sentai, gave me my love of kaiju, put them together, and I was like, I want to watch a dude kick its ass. Kick him right in the face.
Exactly.
So I was like, it's one of those things. I was like, but I would love to see like more kaiju films, but also like mixed in with more like horror aspects. I think that's what made like Cloverfield so unique when it came out. Yeah, it was a found footage film, but you had that unsettling kaiju that was almost indestructible, and you were watching it destroy the city through so many different perspectives, and the way that it's just like going, and the sheer terror of the people in the city.
Yep.
And I think that's what made that one so unique. I was like, I think that's why a lot of people didn't really like the sequel. I was like the 10 Cloverfield Lane. I was like, and then you had the Cloverfield Paradox, which was
Yeah, I mean, like once they started going like down the anthology route, and you realize they're not really connected. I mean, it's cool.
I was about to
You gotta
say,
kind of look at them as their own things.
yeah, I was like, it was like it was very loosely connected. Like 10 Cloverfield Lane is just like, yeah, it's connected, but it doesn't show until the end, and it's just like, oh, it's in the same world in the whatever they're called, destroyed everything, and then you see Cloverfield Paradox. It's just like, oh yeah, it's in space and it's an alternate timeline universe thing, and the specimen goes through a black hole and appears in Earth. And that's how it all started. And it's just like, well, I mean, I guess if you want to jump the shark on the connectivity, but sure. So it's one of those things that I think there's a lot more uniqueness nowadays when it comes to horror. Because if you look at a lot of icons that we have, with all the classics, I think there's also still ways to tell very good stories that are either aware of itself, right? Or
Yep.
a very unique interpretation of the medium. I was like, you look at Cabin in the Woods. Cabin in the Woods is so very meta with its awareness of the tropes of horror films, and it combats all those tropes. And then when it's at the very end, which is like, oh yeah, it's a monster movie, but it's not a monster movie. It's all a government organization that has all these aliens and monsters. It's like, well, guess what? We gonna set shit on fire because we about to let it all loose. And I'm just like, you know what? Cabin in the Woods is probably one of my most unique, underrated when it comes to that, because of the fact that it flipped everything what people knew. Then you have
Right.
then you have storytellers now like Jordan Peele. Like Jordan Peele is absolutely talented as a director, and the way that he understands horror. Because you look at like Get Out, you look at
Oh yeah.
I was like, look at Us, and what was his most recent film that he did?
But the fuck is it called? The one with the space shit.
Yeah, the one with the spaceship
Nope,
with
nope, nope.
Nope.
It's called
Yeah,
Nope.
Nope. I was like,
Nope.
he knows how to take horror tropes, flip them, make it a social commentary, and also still be its own unique thing. And I was like, and I think that's what makes his horror films so damn good, because Get Out was a very unique psychological thriller and horror, right? With a social commentary on racism. I was like, then you look at Us and its whole breakdown of understanding the family, and how there's a whole other, alternate versions of us being experimented on and everything, right? Then you have Nope with the aliens and stuff like that. It's just like his way of telling horror is so well done that I think that's what makes it unique and stand out when you look at other series that just kind of feel fatigued or just overplayed, or it's just like, okay, you're only doing one thing because it's shock factor. It's like what, like Saw. Saw has what, 12 movies now, and at this point it's just gore porn. I was like, it's like, how can we go over the top with our kills at this point? It's just like, what haven't we done? I mean, look at, what was it? The opening of Saw 3D, I think it was, when Chester Bennington was still alive, and he got a part in that, and they were doing the opening scene, and he was playing one of the Nazis or whatever in the beginning in the car, and they were all in the workshop and stuff like that. Like, that scene is just like, okay, that is over the top and insane. And yet they're just like, all right, we can go bigger than that. Let's see what more insanity we can do with some of these kills. And I'm just like,
Yep. It's just it's like if you have a gore fetish, that's what Saw is for, man.
yeah. I mean, it feels that way. I was like, and don't get me wrong, I was like, there is some interesting concepts to go to Saw and its story, right? I was like, but sometimes it's just like it gets lost amongst all of that. Like, I know my girlfriend, she loves the Saw series because of like the overarching story and background stuff, but it's kind of all lost in the subtleties and then the very various flashbacks in between all of these games, right? And that's the thing that kind of makes it hard to enjoy. And in like 30 years, are we gonna look at Saw as a classic? And I'm just like, I don't think so. I was like, you might have some people, but overall, I really don't think so. You know? But I think that's why when you look at some of the others that still stand out as testaments, is that, oh yeah, this is absolutely going to be something that can can last. I was like, honestly, I was like, we all still talk about R.L. Stein in the Goosebumps series, right? I was like, look at the classic Goosebumps cartoon or TV show, right? Some of that is still unsettling. Yeah, it's not as scary as when we were little, but I was like, they had no right going as big as they did with some of those shows and with a lot of those stories. I was like, and then when you look at what he did with his what is it that R.L. Stein did with his Fear Street story, basically creating a horror series for adults from fans that grew up with Goosebumps, and then the way that they actually did the story on Netflix, like the Fear Street films are phenomenal. Like they are really well done. Have you seen Fear Street?
I have not.
Dude, I'm telling you, go watch it because it is so good. I was like, it has the right amount mix of anxiety, right amount of horror, supernatural aspects, has the right amount of comedy in it, right amount of gore. Like it's not. I was like, yeah, it could be a little bit over the top at times, but I was like, it's the right mix because of the fact that it doesn't feel like that's the focus, right? I was like, it's so well done and everything. I was like, me and my girlfriend watched those when they were like debuting. Was it like 2 years ago on Netflix? Because like they put out the first one, and then they did the second one like a few weeks later, and then they did the third one like a few weeks after that. Like we watched all three films as they were coming out on Netflix, and we're like, this is so good. Just like it's so good.
Right.
But it's
Yeah,
just
I'll
like
check it out for sure.
definitely. I was like, but yeah, man, horror is. I think honestly though, when it comes to horror, is that there's a renaissance going on, right? There's more horror focus, not in just like movies, right? We're even seeing horror novels coming back, a lot of horror manga and stuff, and even comics. And then of course we're seeing like a renaissance in horror games for all of our video fiends, our video game friends. Hey, what's going there, Jay? I would say it's one of those things that it's we're really seeing a renaissance for fans of that series, and I was like, there's definitely still some really good horror films out right now. Like I love the Conjuring films, even if they're a little bit exaggerated on the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're still really good. I was like, and same with like Insidious. Insidious is probably the one I really like the most. Right? I was like, that one is so enjoyable, and I think part of it is because I love the actress who plays the main character or one of the main characters in the Insidious franchise. Right? I was like, she is a talented actress, and the fact that she didn't get her break until she was way later in her life is even more of a testament into how good she is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever seen the Insidious films?
I've seen the first one.
Yeah, I was like, definitely check out the rest of the series. Like, I still want to watch. I haven't seen the last one, which was the Red Door. I was like, so I still need to see that one. But yeah, I was like, we've seen me and her have seen all the films. We've watched all of them because I got held. I'm not gonna say against my will. I was like because I was very willing. But she wanted to watch all those, and we kind of just like streamed them all the way through and stuff like that. We watched a lot of those series and stuff. But it's an interesting time for horror and all of our horror fans out there. And she'll be able to talk about some of her favorites when she shows up at a later date because of the fact that unfortunately with her being sick she can't be here today. So
Oh,
is
well, I
yeah.
hope she gets well, bro.
Yes, I know. I was like, she will definitely be getting well because I'm gonna go buy her a bunch of soup because she wants me to buy her soup.
Peace and love to y'all, you know. She'll be
Always,
alright.
always, yeah. She'll be good once she gets all the soup demands that I've been requested for. You know it is house husband duties.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
Now jumping over from our work on the and talks about horror, there's another thing that we got for all you guys here, and right now is like we know that there's a love for superheroes, but we also know that there's a love for alternate takes on superheroes. It all started, well over a decade ago, with Watchmen being probably the first of many a dark series and interpretations of superheroes. And of course, there's recently been the rise in sheer popularity of The Boys. The Boys is absolute beautiful, right? But then you have a series like Invincible. And right now, I think Invincible is on one hell of a takeover because most recently, they released the trailer for season 2. And I gotta say, I am so hyped for season 2. Like, it's been 2 years since we got season 1. And I was like, and it still looks damn good. And I cannot wait for what season 2 is about to bring. So, Juve, tell me your thoughts on the season 2 trailer.
I'm just hyped to watch more of it. Like I've read all of it, like I'm that guy.
He's like, I'm that guy. He's like, I'm Himothy.
Timothy. Yeah, I've read all of it. Um, I'm more so just excited to see what and how certain things get animated. Reading something in book form versus seeing it in motion. Um,
It's
Two
gonna be a totally
entirely
different.
different things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the art style hasn't changed from season one. That, and then it actually looks a little bit better in some spots as far as some of like the scenery design and things like that. So I am extremely excited. Um, I'm just curious what all they're gonna cover um in this season.
It is gonna be
Um,
interesting what they cover in the season. I'll say, and kind of going with that is that I don't know if you actually read the article here, but going into season 2, Robert Kirkman himself talked about what to kind of expect and how much more he expects of the series in general to cover the entirety of the graphic novel, to cover the whole comic, right?
mhm,
And he said that
right.
he's excited for what's going to be going for season 2. But he said that if he wanted to cover the whole comic, which he's pushing to do, is that overall he thinks that there would have to be 7 to 8 seasons with no, he's not going to allow any sort of filler or anything like that. He
That makes
wants
sense.
he wants to cover all that. He says, there's going to be some minor differences, or he might add a little bit extra, but not like go on these whole like we see a lot in a lot of animes where it's stupid full of filler and just like unnecessary that takes up a lot of time and stuff like that. But he says that he estimates that 7 to 8 seasons can cover all the comic, expand certain parts, and speed through a lot of others that may have been unnecessary or just easier to
Yep,
get through and stuff like that. But to be able to tell the whole story of the series, and if they're able to do that, I would love to see them complete the entirety of the Invincible series. Um,
definitely. I want that Battle Beast fight so bad. I want that Battle Beast fight animated so bad.
he's like, I know exactly what I want. He's like, give it to me now. He's like, take that shit. He's like, and just inject it in my veins right now.
Absolutely.
He's
Like
like,
I've
just
read it countless times. I need to see it. I want to see it.
He's like, just give it. He's like, put it on a projector and just shoot it directly into my eyeballs. He's like, just let me see it. I can agree though. I was like, I think a lot of us had those specific like story arcs or fights in a lot of series that were just like, oh man, I love this, and you always go back to it. So it's just like when you're finally able to see it, I think that'll be probably one of the best things here because like Spider-Man, right? We all love Spider-Man. I was like, there's definitely a lot of love for Spider-Man. I was like, and especially the symbiote suit or black suit Spider-Man, right? I was like, still
Yep.
probably one of my favorite story arcs with the black suit is Back in Black, which is after Peter gets beaten by Craven the Hunter, and he's basically buried alive, and then Craven the Hunter goes and basically just like, all right, I achieved what I wanted to do, and basically just dies. That Peter loses it and just goes absolutely insane on Craven's family. And it's just like it is probably one of the darkest stories for Spider-Man and with Craven, right? But it's just like I love that. I was like, I want to see that. I was like, I want to see Spider-Man absolutely lose it. I was like, we're probably not going to get that in a movie form anytime soon. Maybe animated, but I was like, probably not anytime soon. But still, I would love to see it. But it's just like it's one of those things that's just like you had that one specific that you want to see so badly. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we need more of is like we need to see more of that push to get uh to see something that we want. And I'm glad to see that he's making a very active involvement and push for it, and has an idea on how much he can do to be able to tell the whole story. Because you think that there are some comics out there that are so long, it's hard to do the whole thing. Like, that's why I'm excited with like the boys with the live action, is that they're taking the majority of the story beats that is from the graphic novel series, right? But they're changing certain parts of it to make it feel a little bit different, but still very familiar to what we know of the story and how it's going to go. So honestly, I was like, well, we're going on to season 3 right now soon. I was like, so honestly, they could do 6 seasons of The Boys and tell the story, and then they have their animated series with, or was it animated series or was it a live action series with like Gen V, which is a lot of the side stories that they could tell with other smaller characters that appeared throughout the series. I was like, that's a good way to handle that, right? I was like, and I think that's what we need more of.
Exactly.
And to see that Invincible is handling it the way that it is really great to see. And not only that, I was like, it's amazing because honestly, Invincible is like on a whole high of a takeover right now. Because not only are we getting season 2, and not only has Robert Kirkman basically stated that he wants to do 7 to 8 seasons to do the whole story, is that we're also getting a video game. I was like, so for those who don't know, Skybound Interactive is actually doing a visual novel style Invincible game based on Adam Eve. So it's going to tell a very unique story from Adam Eve's perspective. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, one, that's really cool, and how important Adam Eve is to the story because of how important her role is with Mark. I
Yep.
think some people can kind of guess, but it's just like they really don't know until they get later on into the story. Is that Adam Eve is like, there's a reason that they constantly have this will they won't they kind of feel with everything else that's going on. It's for a very specific reason that kind of reveals later on into the comic series. And I'm glad to know that, to be fair, Skybound Interactive does a lot with Robert Kirkman and stuff like that, because you think that they help to do all the Walking Dead games and stuff like that. So the fact that they're doing
Hmm.
Invincible does not surprise me. I'm just glad that they are, and I'm glad that they're focusing on Adam Eve and other characters, because you think that a lot of series, when they do adaptations, like even video games and stuff like that, it's always focused on characters that we already know. It's already focused on events we already know. It's like, we don't want that. Let us explore other stories in that universe. And I think that the fact that they're doing that with Invincible is a great thing. Personally, I think so. Jube, you've read the comic as much as I have. I was like, what are your thoughts on them doing a visual novel for Adam Eve?
Um, if it's done well, which should be, um, it should be dope. I mean, I'm a fan of visual novel games, like from Ace Attorney to what have you. Like, as long as they stick to the source material. I mean, do we really want them taking chances with the visual novel? Like, you don't necessarily have to. Like, everything that they need is pretty much laid out in front of them, and it's going to be in a format that some people don't really read comics, but they might get on board with the more interactive visual novel approach. So
Mm-hmm.
that should lead to hey, if you weren't a fan of this series and watched season 1 of the show and want to get a little bit more out of it, but can't be bothered to read anything, like, this is for them. And then for those of us that read it, it's more so us to I don't want to say nostalgia, but like,
To kind of see how they handle that character.
exactly. Just
Because
like any kind of adaptation, you always want to be like, okay, like, this is my recollection and my experience with this. How are you gonna how are you gonna flip this and like try to wow me with this? Or am I gonna constantly say, oh no, it's the manga's just, or the graphic novel is just better. So
oh yeah,
that's just how I look at it.
and I completely agree. It's like what can we do to make this character stand out more so than some people already have, right? It's like,
Hmm.
can we
Hmm.
can we help to, one, honor the character correctly and really be able to capture the feel that people know of this character? Are we able to show the fans who know the source material that yes, we know the character, we know the story, we know how to tell a story with that character that stays true to them, as well as introducing more people to another perspective of this character? Because you think that while we have gotten a good look at Adam Eve, because I believe she even got her own episode in the first season, right? They got to focus on her. Is that a lot of the story is always told from either Mark's perspective or Omni Man's perspective, right? I was like, we don't see a lot of the other happenings from other characters except for her because of the role she plays in the series overall. So having a game dedicated to Adam Eve is a great thing because now we can kind of see more of her interpretation and her uh, perspective of the world and the universe, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
So I'm excited that Invincible is kind of on this massive takeover that it has been. I was like, and honestly, it deserves it. Like I said, there are certain series that absolutely deserve the takeover that they do because of how well that they are handled or how well that they are. And it's just like if other mediums do more with them and it's handled correctly, it can only help to broaden their approach in other mediums. And I think that Invincible is absolutely one of those ones that can be. Because I mean, shit, look at it. I was like, we're seeing Omni Man and freaking we're seeing Omni Man in Mortal Kombat. Like, what's not dope about that? I was like, and not only that is like him and Homelander and stuff like that. I was like, we all talk about watching those two want to slug it out. Now we actually can. Like, that's dope. We're seeing some of the coolest characters jump from one medium to another in the best way possible. It's like, I mean, hell, look, Mortal Kombat has no qualms about collaborating and bringing in icons. I mean, what was it? Mortal Kombat 11 had Rambo, had RoboCop, had I was like, I mean, they had Jason in the past and stuff like that. I was like, they don't care. They're like, anyone that we can bring in, let's do it. I was like, so the fact that they brought in Homelander and Omni Man, like, that's dope as hell. Right? It's just one of those things that is great to see. Exactly. And that's what that I was mentioning to what Callie said there in the chat is that The Boys has the same effect with Gen V. It's like you have the main storyline and the main characters and cast that you have for fans of the series. And The Boys, you have the focus on Billy Butcher. You have the focus on Homelander. You have the focus with MM, with Mother's Milk, and Huey and the whole crew, right? I was like, and Kimiko and all them. And then in Invincible, you have the focus on Mark, Adam Eve, and a lot of the main heroes, along with Omni Man and stuff like that. But then you introduce other mediums and other forms to tell that story where you can show off more of the universe and the world through other characters. Gen V shows a lot more of the side characters that weren't that were mentioned in passing or kind of talked about in the graphic novel that may not have had the screen time since they're kind of changing the story. Invincible is kind of staying true to what the comic is, but they're also kind of branching out to tell other stories and other mediums for other characters, but still staying true to everything. And I think that's what helps to build something out the right way when you're wanting to look at it. And I'm glad to see that we're seeing so much from Invincible, because I think Invincible definitely is diving into that animated adult style cartoon, right? Because the fact that it's a superhero series, but it's not a superhero series for kids. It's for us to enjoy because it is absolutely bloody, brutal, and will rip you in half, no problem. And the fact is that they want to expand that even more so is a great thing, because when done right for the fans, it can offer so much more. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that it needs to stay true to what it is while still being its own thing. Don't lose your identity when you're trying to be original, but don't lose the essence of what you're coming from, you know? And that's what I'm hoping that with Skybound, with this game, it does it right. And it looks like they are, because they're really leaning into the comic book aesthetic. They're really leaning into the visual novel, having the series, the game focus on Adam Eve and a story for her. And it's cool because they're introducing very unique style combat in the visual novel, kind of playing out not necessarily like a kind of like turn-based cards, but kind of also like not. But it's very cool with the way that they're handling the fights as being like a 2D style comic book fight. Like you're seeing from behind her as she's attacking the enemies and stuff like that. So I'm just like, oh, you know what? That could be kind of cool. I was like, I want to see more of it because it's very interesting that it's something that they're doing. So there's a lot to check out and a lot to come up for fans of Invincible. So let's just hope that they have more to offer. Exactly. I was like, the fact is that since it's focused on adults, I was like, it's not taking comedy routes and stuff like that. I would say, to be fair though, I was like, South Park was never aimed at kids. I was like, South Park has absolutely been aimed at adults. So the fact is that it's an adult comedy with its animation, whereas Invincible is basically an adult superhero animation. So I think that's kind of where that one kind of teeters a little bit differently. But still, I was like, it's gonna be unique how it is. Now, Jube, my boy, I know you had this, and I want to get your thoughts because we're gonna talk just a little bit here. I was like, I didn't finish it because we started it super late last night, but I know you have a Peacock subscription.
I do.
I want to know what are your thoughts on a very particular horror animatronic video game getting its on-screen adaptation. I want to
I
know.
haven't
You're
watched
really
it yet.
Oh no!
I
Okay,
haven't watched
well,
it yet.
okay. Well, I guess we're not talking about Five Nights at Freddy's tonight because no one's watched it.
I plan on watching it tonight just to get it
Okay.
out of the
I was
way.
like, all right, everyone, we're gonna give Jube the pass because everyone here didn't watch it. I started watching it with Akumu last night, and I think we fell asleep because we started watching it at like 3:00 in the morning.
Right.
So it's just like, all right, you know what? Everyone gets a pass today. I was like, no one's in trouble because when the host didn't do it, no one else did. No one else did it, so it's all good. But yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna talk about a little bit of what I've heard from other people that I know that have seen it. Right, is that don't listen to the critics, right? Critics are gonna look at things in probably the worst kind of light when they're breaking something down. Is that a lot of like the diehard fans are really gonna enjoy this because of the fact that the film really does a lot to try and put a lot of the lore and a lot of the story bits that may not have really gotten a lot of attention. And you know how much that they've changed that game franchise, changed a lot of outlines and times and stuff like that. It's going to add in a lot of that. But it's also going to be enjoyable as a film of just looking at it for as a film and not trying to look at it through a certain lens. From what I know is that diehard fans are like, oh man, there's a lot here that we just like the confirmation on. And there's others just like, oh man, this is just a fun kind of dumb film. I was like, and for the community of Five Nights at Freddy's, that's a very dedicated and very big community. To see so much done to bring in a lot of the creators who have been doing a lot for this franchise over the past 10 years is really awesome. I was like, one scene in particular that I knew about, but when they showed it in the trailer too, is gotta give a shout out to the Shogun himself. I was like, you know what? To big love to Corey Kenshin. I was like, right? Is that I found him because of Akumu, because Akumu loves Corey Kenshin. And ever since she introduced me to him when we first got together, like almost 4 years ago, is I love this guy. I was like, he's probably one of the most dedicated and honest creators out there, but also being one of the biggest black creators, especially on YouTube, who is very much also the most family-friendly YouTube creator out there, and does so much work that he literally will go and play like even M-rated games and like horror games and spend so much time to edit out all of the like cursing and stuff like that because he's very true to his image and stuff like that, because that's the kind of person that he is. I was like, to see him get a cameo and a really well done and funny scene in that movie was great to see, that so many creators have gone to be able to do so many bigger things, and it just shows the dedication to the love and passion that they have, and I'm happy to see that and see so many other creators who weren't able to be in the film, right, even for short scenes, that had cameos from pictures and all sorts of stuff in there. And like even Markiplier himself wasn't able to be in the film because he was supposed to be. Apparently, he was saying that he was supposed to film a scene in there, but because he's working on his film with Iron Lung based on that game that came out a while back, that he wasn't able to make time to go over there to film the scene that they wanted. So he ended up getting a picture on the wall with a cameo with a few other creators and stuff like that. So I'm just like, you know what? The fact that they wanted to give back so much to the community and those who helped build it up, I think is a great thing. Well, to be fair, Callie, I was Slender Man got a film, but it wasn't about Slender Man. Let's just be 100% honest about that. It was absolutely not. It was a Slender Man film without Slender Man. It was one of those things, but I feel where you're coming from. I was like, there's definitely some things that are getting moved around a lot faster. But if you want a favorite, not Five Nights at Freddy's film, I definitely recommend going and watching Willy's Wonderland. I was gonna say because the fact that Akumu loves Willy's Wonderland, because if you want a movie where Nick Cage plays a completely silent protagonist and it's all about him cleaning a pizzeria while fighting animatronics in the most absurdly badass way, that's the film for you. Seriously, I was like, Nick Cage is the only man who can play an entire film completely silent as a protagonist with everyone else talking at him, and all you hear is the occasional grunt from him while he's just throwing back whatever is in these sodas that he has to drink. So I love it, man. But with that being said, guys, I think that's actually going to go ahead and call it for us here for today. I was like, I know it's a little bit later than we usually do, but you know, it's okay. I was like, and we also had a rough start as always, but you know what? We're working out the kinks. We're working out the tech issues. We'll get this going back and everything here. So with that being said, Jube, tell the people they can find you at, my boy.
Absolutely. You can find me at Jubei X Sensei on gaming platforms, Jubei Sensei everywhere else, including Twitter. You can also find my secondary handle at Ambush Mokage on Twitter. I don't really post there as much just because I got my main account back. That'll probably be my troll side of the account if you want to consider it that. Yeah, hopefully next week I'll have a lot less boxes to deal with and can be here from
On
the
time.
beginning, so I don't
On
miss
time.
Kofi. So I don't miss Kofi.
Exactly. I was like, and Kofi over there disappeared for the second half of the show.
But yeah, no, PC's up. We're good. It's gonna be a fun ride, and of course, you can catch me in Kofi this upcoming Monday on VGP at 8:45 Eastern on YouTube. Yeah, 8:45 Eastern. Vitamin G podcast. Check us out. And I will catch you guys next Saturday, of course, for another Smash podcast.
All right, all right. And of course, guys, y'all can always catch Creative Kofi over here, our Kanji King, our Mr. Gundam Man, on Mondays with Jubei and the crew over there on the Vitamin G podcast. Shout out to that family. I was like, it's been a minute. It's like, love those guys over there. And then, of course, you can also see him talking Japanese and stuff like that all over on Twitter at _creative_ Kofi. So make sure you go show him some love. And of course, I'm going to yell at our resident artist man himself who didn't show up today, the Soul King. Make sure you go show Soul some love at Soul King Lives on Twitter and at The Soul King on Instagram. Go support my brother because he's the reason that we have a lot of the art that we did back in the day. We got more coming up. And of course, you already know where y'all can find us, boy. It's all at Bloody Nux, BLOODIEKNUX on all platforms. You can find me on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. That's some bullshit. You can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook. All at Bloody Nux. And of course, you can also find me streaming 5 times a week on Twitch. I was like, and other platforms coming soon. So if y'all want to come play some video games and watch me be stupid for your entertainment, make sure y'all come out on that and keep an eye out here because we will be back next Saturday as always with more Smash podcast goodness here for all of y'all, and y'all also may see some pre-recorded stuff from some things I'm working on and maybe some old VODs posting up. I was like, I got a lot of things and plans and works for y'all. So make sure y'all continue showing that love. I know I gotta replace it. Listen, this is old art. We're working on updating it, okay? Don't mention it, Callie. We already know it's a work in progress. I was like, I've had to do a lot of stuff. All right, we got a lot of stuff working. But seriously, guys, we appreciate y'all all so much for stopping by, hanging out with us on y'all's mornings. It means the world to us here as we get back into the swing of things. I was like, it's gonna be a slow start, but we're gonna do this right, and we're not stopping anytime soon. So y'all's support means the world to me. It means the world to us because we love to do what we do here, and we love y'all to be a part of it. So come out. Break away from some of the usual stuff y'all talk about and be able to talk about other fun hobbies. So with that being said, guys, we will see you all next week. We hope y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all's morning. And remember to always come out and enjoy your Saturday morning anime super hour with the Smash Podcast. Until next time, guys, y'all take it easy. Later.